Greetings and welcome to the Federal Work Study online orientation. My name is Loretta Johnson. I'm the Federal Work Study Coordinator at SCC, and I want to congratulate you on being chosen to participate in the Federal Work Study student program. I wanted to take this opportunity to go through the handbook with you and just kind of give you an overview of the program and explain more in detail what the program is about. You see here on the screen, first of all, is contact information for myself, and then the payroll specialist information is also there too. The next page is a table of contents. This is just all of the information that we're going to cover in the orientation. Okay, on this page, once you're hired, it would be very beneficial to you if you could sit down with your supervisor and fill in this information. You don't have to send this information to me. This is just for you to keep for your records. Keep it in your handbook. It's a good idea to go ahead and print this handbook after you do the orientation. The handbook can be printed from the link on the Federal Work Study page that's accessed through going to the SCC website, clicking on Financial Aid, and then to the left you'll see the link for Federal Work Study. So you can print the handbook from there. There's also other items on the web page, but print this page, fill in your supervisor's name, your supervisor's phone number and email, and then also in that next section there's a line for the alternate signature's phone number and email. If your supervisor is going to be out for the day or in a meeting, just not available whenever you need your timesheet signed, you will have the alternate person that they have chosen that's authorized to sign the timesheet for you. In that next section is just a simple checklist of items that you need to do right away once you're hired. Make sure that you review your job duties with your supervisor and that you understand what's expected of you, and that you also receive a copy of those job duties. You should also receive a signed copy of your Federal Work Study award letter from me. You will also complete your work schedule with your supervisor. You can work out the hours with them based on your class schedule. Once you get the work schedule finalized, then you can email that to me. You'll also need to review the instructions for updating and accessing your payroll and HR information on the self-service account. And there's a section in here that describes that in more detail, and we will get to that. The next page covers some changes that are new for the 2012-13 aid year. New laws were implemented regarding the hours that work study students can work. There will be a 1-month break every 6 months. So during the month of July and during the month of December, no work study students will be working during those 2 months. The pay for on-campus assignments is $7.50 per hour. We also have placements available at local elementary schools as reading and math tutors, and also through the adult ed programs. Those positions are paid $8 per hour. We also have positions available at nonprofit organizations. They are community service positions. Those are not listed on here, but they are available. Those are also paid $8 per hour. At the bottom of the page, you'll see the section about financial workshops, resume writing, and job hunting. Starting the fall 12th semester, those workshops will be available to work study students to help them in their job search once they graduate. And we just think it's a good idea to start early and work on your resume before you graduate. Now, those workshops will be available on the work study page, and There will be no travel involved. You can just watch the workshops from your work location. You will be paid while you're watching them, so you'll be able to count that time on your timesheet. Once you've completed all 3 of the workshops, then it'll be time to work on your resume. Those will be submitted via email. You can email those to me, and they will be kept on file here. This section talks about, again, some initial tasks that you need to do once you're hired. Just review your award letter and make sure you understand what the award letter says. You're accepting the Federal Work-Study Award for an aid year. The aid year will include fall semester, spring semester, and then summer as well, if you have the funds that carry over into each of those semesters. And we will get into that later on in the handbook as well. You'll also need to talk to your supervisor, make sure they outline their specific expectations, and then also give you a copy of the job description and your job duties. Send that work schedule to me. And also print the work study calendar from the website. The calendar has a note on each of the days that the timesheet is due. So that will be convenient for you to keep, and also your supervisor can print a copy as well. The next section explains what your responsibilities are as a work-study student. You are responsible for accurately reporting your time on the timesheets and being on time to work, as well as dressing appropriately, conducting yourself in a professional manner, complying with the computer usage and confidentiality agreements which were part of your hire packet, calling your supervisor if you are going to be late or absent from work, also remaining at your workstation unless you're asked to do something else. You're also responsible for reporting your work-study income if you're chosen for verification on your FAFSA. And you're also not permitted to take personal phone calls or text while at your workstation. This section covers your supervisor's responsibilities. They should ensure that you have the appropriate resources to perform your job. They should assist you with the completion of your timesheets, as well as making a work schedule and then sending it to me via email. They should review all other expectations with you during the first week that you are hired. This would include the dress code. They're also responsible for getting the timesheets to me by the dates listed in this handbook, ensuring that the hours worked are accurate, and then also contacting me if there are any problems that you're having on the job. The next section explains student evaluations. The work-study supervisors are required to complete an evaluation of your performance each semester. The evaluation will be reviewed with you. You'll be asked to sign it, and it will also be used to determine your continued eligibility in the work-study program. If you do not agree with the evaluation, please email me right away. Because of the new laws and federal work-study students not being able to work during the month of July or December, June 30th will be the last day that you can work during the summer. If you are returning in the fall, the earliest you can start back to work is the week before classes start in August. If you have enough funds, you can work up to 20 hours a week during spring break and fall break. Since finals week for the fall semester falls during December, you will not be allowed to work in December or during finals week of the fall semester. You do not have to work the maximum hours that you're awarded. If you have been approved for 20 hours and you can only work 10, that's perfectly acceptable. Just make sure you review the time and the schedule with your supervisor and that you email it to me. Okay, what if I don't use all of the funds I was awarded? on my work study. Those funds can carry over to each semester during the same award year. For example, if you were awarded $5,000 for the 12-13 aid year, that aid year includes fall 2012, spring 2013, and summer 2013. If you only earn $1,000 during the fall 12 semester, then you'll have $4,000 to use during the spring semester. If you don't use all of the funds for the spring semester, those funds will carry over into summer. And of course, that's provided you continue to meet all of the work-study guidelines and requirements. At the end of summer, that will end your work-study award for the 12-13 aid year. A new aid year begins every fall, so you'll have a new work-study amount every fall and a new award letter to sign each fall. The next section describes your self-service award. Whenever you log on to PeopleSoft and you look at your Federal Work-Study Award and it has the equal amounts for fall and spring, that just means that you were awarded one total amount for the year. PeopleSoft automatically splits it between the fall and spring semester. At that point, it's not determined if you're going to attend in the summer. The summer will be added once you register for classes. If you're awarded a summer award, you have to have been registered for classes first. The next section, if you decide to leave your position, then I ask that you please give 2 weeks notice in writing to myself and to your supervisor. Giving a 2-week notice is just being respectful to your supervisor and also to the program. That gives another student a chance to be hired in, gives us time to place them in the position before you leave. If you do not give 2 weeks notice, you may not be considered for future work-study placement. So please just keep us informed and let us know what you intend to do. If you have problems with your supervisor or your job duties, please contact me immediately. You can email me or call me. Again, my contact information is on the front page of the handbook. If you're going to be late for work, make sure you call your supervisor immediately. Send them an email. If you can't get in touch with them, contact that alternate contact, because excessive tardiness is grounds for dismissal from the work-study program. The next section covers instructions on how to complete the timesheet. Some of the main things to remember is that you write your hours in the appropriate line on the timesheet. If you're working in an on-campus assignment, make sure you write the hours under the WKS line. If you're working as a reading or math tutor, your hours will go on the AMR line. If you're working in a community service position, your hours will go on the WKS-CS line. Here's an example of the Federal Work-Study timesheet. Notice on each of the lines, the WKS, the AMR, the WKS-CS. These indicate what kind of placement you have in the work-study program. If you are working in an on-campus assignment, you'll want to fill in your hours on this line. If you're working as a reading or math tutor at one of the elementary schools or in the adult ed programs, you'll want to fill in your hours on this line. If you're working in a community service position, you'll want to fill your hours in on this line. At the top here where it says department, you'll want to enter your location, your work location. Then you'll enter your name, your employee ID, or your student ID. You can leave the record and position numbers blank. You don't have to enter anything there. Enter the begin date and end date. The begin date will always be the 1st or the 16th, and then the end date will be the 15th or the 30th or 31st. So for this, the next timesheet that you'll submit, it will have October the 1st as the begin date, October 15th as the end date. And then you'll fill in the hours on the appropriate line that matches your placement. As you enter the hours, notice that the totals will appear if you type in the number of hours and then hit the tab key. The totals will appear over here at the end. So your total hours will be automatically calculated as you enter each line on the timesheet. Notice also at the bottom the total hours appear here as well. You don't have to worry about filling in anything on this section as far as the pay rate and the amount. That will be calculated by the payroll department. Make sure that you sign on the employee signature line, your supervisor, or if your supervisor is not available, your alternate signature signs below that, and then the FAO signature stands for Financial Aid Officer. That's where I will sign. The timesheets are due to me usually 2 to 3 days before the pay period ends. So you're going to be estimating your work hours. If you have to miss one of those days for any reason, instead of completing a new timesheet, we ask that you just send me an email, copy the payroll department. Their emails are on the front of your handbook, and then just explain that you turned in your timesheet early, but that something happened and you had to miss one day. We can change the timesheet for you as long as we have the email, but we have to have something in writing from you. We can't change it based on a phone call, so make sure that you send an email and then we'll get that changed for you. We will also copy your supervisor so that your supervisor will be aware of the change in the hours. If you have to make a correction on the timesheet before you submit it, you can do that, but make sure that you don't completely mark it out or use whiteout on the timesheet. All you need to do to make a correction is put a line through the hour or the correction and then write the corrected hour above it, put your initials, and then have your supervisor to initial the correction. The next couple pages covers very specific and detailed information on completing your timesheet. These instructions were given directly from the payroll office and just covers in more detail everything that I explained earlier. I'm not going to go through everything listed here, but please take the time to read through it. If you have any questions, I'm sure their payroll has covered the questions in here. You should be able to find the answers. If not, they are certainly available for you to talk to on the phone. Don't hesitate to give them a call. They will be more than eager to help. At the bottom of page 7, you'll notice a note: if you work more than 5 hours straight, you must take at least a 30-minute lunch break. You're not paid for your lunch break. And also another note, hours on your timesheet are recorded in 15-minute intervals. For example, if you work 15 minutes past 1 hour, you're going to enter that hour. For instance, you work 5 hours and 15 minutes. The time that you enter on the timesheet will be 5.25. If you work 5 hours and 30 minutes, your time will be entered as 5.5. If you work 5 hours and 45 minutes, you'll enter 5.75 on the timesheet. After you complete your timesheet and get your signature and your supervisor's signature on it at the bottom, it'll need to be turned in to the Federal Work Study Coordinator. You can fax that to me or scan it and send it to me via email. If you are on the Somerset campus and you need to turn your timesheet in, you can take it to the Financial Aid Office to Nicole Long. She will scan or email a copy to me or fax it. If you're at one of the centers, take it to the front office or to one of the center directors and ask them to scan or fax the timesheet to me. The next section at the bottom of page 8 just lists some common errors that the payroll office sees on the timesheets. Sometimes the supervisor's signature is missing. The hours reported do not add up to the correct total. The timesheets are not legible. The pay period begin and end dates are wrong, or the student ID number is missing. In order to make sure that you are paid on time and that your paycheck is not delayed or the direct deposit is not delayed, please make sure that you review your timesheet, making sure everything is correct, your hours are correct, the signatures are on there and legible, and that you send it to me by the dates due on the calendar. Page 10 of the Work Study Handbook lists the due dates for the timesheets for the entire semester, all the way up through June the 30th. Page 11 of the handbook lists the KCTCS closings and holiday schedule for the 12-13 academic year. Students will not be working on these days. Starting on page 12, what should I wear to work? Of course, each department will set their own dress code. Students that are working in the maintenance department will not be expected to dress the same as someone working in an office. However, all Federal Work Study students are expected to dress in a neat, clean, modest, and appropriate attire. Please do not wear shorts, low-cut tops, or low-riding pants to work. Can you do homework on the job? If your supervisor approves, then yes, but please discuss this with them. You can also be terminated from this job. The reasons for immediate dismissal are listed here on page 12. Violating the confidentiality agreement or the computer usage agreement, inappropriate dress or conduct, tardiness or not showing up for work, insufficient performance of your job duties, failure to meet the SAP or MTF requirements, failure to attend the 3 workshops and submit a resume. The next section discusses Federal Work Study Student Employment Week. During the first full week of April each year, we will celebrate Student Employment Week. Last year was our first year. We sent students and supervisors an evaluation form so that they could nominate an outstanding supervisor or student for the year. After the evaluations were reviewed, one outstanding work-study student and supervisor was chosen at each location. There was a reception with an award ceremony for each of the winners. The next section discusses what happens whenever the Federal Work Study Coordinator does an on-site visit. Each semester I will try to visit the work location of each work-study student and just review the student's performance on the job and then discuss with the supervisor any issues, and then also discuss the supervisor's performance with the student. At that time you can ask any questions regarding your position in the Federal Work Study program. Page 13 describes how your unmet need and Federal Work Study award is determined. You'll notice that the table describes the cost of attendance. This is the total estimated cost for a student to attend Somerset Community College. And it's broken down into each section, such as books, room and board, personal expenses, transportation, and tuition. In calculating your unmet need, we first start with cost of attendance. And if you'll notice the formula there in the center of the page, it starts with the cost of attendance amount, subtracts your EFC. Your EFC is the number that they give you after completing the FAFSA. EFC stands for Expected Family Contribution. Then we subtract the Pell. If you receive a Pell Grant, that is subtracted too from your cost of attendance to determine unmet need. And then the CAP Grant, if you receive that, that is subtracted. And also keys, if you receive any keys. All of those grants are subtracted from that cost of attendance to determine your unmet need for the semester. Once we get to the $47.85 and determine that as an unmet need, that's the number that I can pull work-study funds from up to that amount. That's the maximum award you can receive for work-study for the aid year. And again, the aid year will include fall, spring, and summer. The last section on page 13 describes another scenario to include loans. For instance, if you have that unmet need of $47.85, if you were only going to earn $4,000 in federal work-study funds, the remaining $785 of your unmet need could be taken out in loans. But work-study and loans combined cannot go over the $47.85 unmet need amount. Page 14 describes instructions on how to get to your KCTCS self-service account. Through self-service, you can update your name, address, phone number, emergency contact, ethnicity, email address, and marital status. You can also view a PDF of your paycheck, as well as submit your W-4, K-4, print your current year W-2, and edit your direct deposit information. If you need any help changing your direct deposit information, please contact the payroll office and they will walk you through those steps. If you have any questions regarding any other issues on the self-service account, such as updating personal information, you can contact Kim Green. Page 15 describes KCTCS policies and procedures regarding rest periods and meal periods. The main highlighted points are that employees are not required to work more than 4 hours without being permitted a paid rest period of 15 minutes. If you are scheduled to work a 7.5-hour day, you are permitted 2 15-minute rest periods, one near the middle of your shift before your lunch break and one near the middle of the shift after your lunch break. Employees shall not be required or permitted to take a meal break sooner than the 3rd hour of work or later than the 5th hour. Your lunch break should be arranged with your supervisor and communicated to your coworkers in that area in order to maintain departmental and service objectives. Meal periods are not counted as hours worked. Make sure you do not include your meal period, lunch break on your timesheet. If you work more than 4 hours and you take a 15-minute rest period, that can be included on your timesheet. This concludes the Federal Work-Study online orientation. Again, if you have any questions, my contact information is on the screen, as well as contact information for payroll. Please don't hesitate to call us. We are here for you. We are here to help you. Thank you, and again, congratulations.